Uh, Good morning to all for members of the Advocate and Pension Bar. I would thank to Honorable Senior District Judge Mr. Iskati and the Academy, Sai Law Academy, to interact with the members of the bar and bench in the day of the Christmas. On reading of the section 17 of Advocates Act 1961, the legal education has to be imparted in all levels of our country. That is the motto of the Advocates Act 1961, section 17. Thus, I am used to give some lectures in Madurai and Namakkal district in order to share the experience to the members of the bar and bench. The topic assigned to me by the academy is the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act, Amendment Act 2018. Before we enter into the reading of the topic, we must understand the constitutional background of this act. This act hereafter I may be referred as Act number 33 of 1989. On looking into the constitutional background of the Act number 33 of the 1989, I would recall and remember our constitutional drafting committee chairman, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, on November 25, 1949, when the Constitutional Assembly was assembled. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, B.R. Ambedkar, Constitutional Drafting Committee Chairman, has delivered an immortal speech stating that the Constitutional Assembly is trying to level pass to create the political democracy, but Dr. Ambedkar says the political democracy must be ordered social democracy. Social democracy, what do you mean by social democracy? It means the way of life with liberty, equality, and fraternity. In our Constitutional Assembly, all the three categories are available. Equality is available, fraternity is available, equality is available. The liberty, equality, and fraternity cannot be separated. It must to coexist with the other. That is the motto of our Constitutional Assembly chairman, drafting committee chairman. Next, how the act was coming to force, how the act was coming to effect, how the act was enacted. In order to trace out the legal history of this act, we must look into Article 17. 17 means Article 17 of the Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution abolishes the untouchability. Untouchability is abolished by way of Article 17 of Indian Constitution. If any enforcement of disability arising out of the untouchability shall be punishable in accordance with the law. Thus, the untouchability is not only statutory offence but also an constitutional offence as per Article 17. Moreover, Article 15 says that state shall not discriminate any citizen of India on the ground that religion, race, caste, or any of them, and no citizen of India shall be discriminated to enter into public resort, public restaurant, public well, public road, or any of them meant for public use. Next, Article 23. Article 23 says about the right against exploitation. No citizen of India shall be exploited, and the state, however, state can extract the work from citizen of India in the for the public interest and public good health. However, such the forced labor, compulsory labor for the public purpose should not be extracted in the name of caste. That is the Article 23. Moreover, Article 29 subclass 2. No citizen of India shall not be discriminated to admit in educational institution which is wholly funded by the government in the name of the caste, religion, or any of them. Next, we reading into the Article 35. As we know, the fundamental rights guaranteed under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. If any constitutional rights, any fundamental rights enshrined in the Part 3 of the Constitution, for which state has to legislate to enforce them accordingly. First of all, the Untouchability Offence Act 1956 was enacted. Then it was renamed as Protection of Civil Rights Act 1956. However, in 1989, Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 was enacted. The silent feature of this Act number 33 of the 1989 would read as follows. The enhancement punishment shall be given against the offence of the atrocities against the member of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Minimum punishment has to be awarded, for which maximum punishment is also enacted. Then in order to alleviate the sufferings of the members of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, if a person is aggrieved, is suffered due to the offence of atrocity, the compensation, relief and compensation has to be awarded. That is one of the idea. Next, the most particular, any offence of atrocities left out in the Indian Penal Code or Protection of Civil Rights Act 1956 has to be regulated, for which punishment has to be ordered, more punishment has to be ordered. That is all the untouchabilities against the against the members of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes were enumerated under section 3, because the members of the SC/ST were suffered in those days in socially and economically and politically. As far as the social rights is concerned, in those days, the members of the SC/ST are not allowed to enter into mingle with the general public, not to enter into, they were not allowed to public resort, public well, public toilet, public use, public places meant for public use, for which all the social disabilities were also enumerated. In so far as the political rights are concerned, they were denied in those days to put on vote in General Assembly. They were denied to contest the election in General Assembly, for which such rights are also included in the form of section 3. In those days, the members of the SC/ST were engaged in hard work, but they were given minimum wages, so that compulsory work is prohibited. In the form of all the disability, in the form of the social disability, economic disability, and political disability are enumerated in section 3. Moreover, the properties, immovable properties of the SC/ST should not be snatched by any other non-member of the SC/ST, for which such provisions also included in section 3. The most salient feature of this act is court can enable to pass an order of externment if any person who is non-member of the SC/ST creating trouble and creating law and order problem in the area of the SC/ST, court can pass an order under section 10 subclass 3 of the said act to remove such a person from such a locality. That is the more this is a special provision. Even in the MCP Act, the Madras City Police Act, the Commissioner of Police can pass an order for externment only for 3 months, whereas as per section 10 subclass 3, externment order can be passed against a potential person who is non-member of the SC/ST creating law and order problem against the SC/ST for more than 1 year. The period is crucial. However, there is a remedy is also available to such a person to cancel such order, stating for the reasons specified to him. Moreover, that is the silent features of the Act number 33 of 1989. This offence enumerated in section 3 can be committed private persons, for which whether a doubt arises to me as to whether the member of the SC/ST can approach the Honorable High Court of Judicature for filing writ petitions to challenging his violation of the atrocities of the atrocity against the SC/ST, for which I read out the judgment delivered by Honorable Supreme Court of India, reported in AIR, reported in AIR 1982 SC 1473. People's Union for Democratic Rights and others versus Union of India, wherein the Honorable Supreme Court of India held that any member of the SC/ST, any person infringed the rights available under Article 17, 23 can approach the Honorable High Court and Supreme Court for filing a petition against not only state but also private individual. Thus, if any person infringes right available under Article 17 and 23 can approach before the Constitutional Court for filing the petition. That is the law. Consequently, a Child Labor and Prohibition Regulation Act 1987 was enacted due to that judgment. In order to the better understanding of the sign, I would remember a judgment delivered by the Honorable Supreme Court of India, reported in AIR 1993, Supreme Court 1126. The State of Karnataka versus Appapalu Ingle and others. State of Karnataka versus Appapalu Ingle and others, wherein where the Appapalu and others were committed the offence under section 4 and 7 of the PCR Act. Thereby, they wrongfully restrained the complainant party. They wrongfully restrained the complainant party under the threat of force. That is the gunpoint. They took up a gunpoint. They are about to took up the gunpoint, and they were wrongfully restrained the complainant party, who are belongs to the members of the SC/ST, who are about to take potable water from the newly dug up borewell, but moreover, such borewell is situated within the 15 feet from the area of the SC/ST people. They were wrongfully restrained by the Appapalu and others, for which case was registered and investigated, and trial court convicted, and in the High Court, Honorable High Court of Karnataka acquitted the potential accused persons on the reason that all the four eyewitnesses belongs to members of the SC/ST. They were given evidence as like parrot. Their evidences are not certainly not consistent, so that they were acquitted. However, the Honorable Supreme Court of India held that the eyewitnesses are illiterate people. The court may not expect from them for concrete and certainty of evidence, and the offense finally the judgment of the Karnataka High Court was negativated by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. Next, we looked into the Special Act. Moreover, some amendments were made in the year of by way of Act number 1 of 2016, whereby mere knowledge of the accused that the victim is belongs to members of the SC/ST, that is enough. That is the judgment delivered by in Asrafi versus State of Uttar Pradesh 2018 CRLJ 937, wherein court held that after the amendment of Act number 1 of 2016, mere knowledge of the accused that the person upon whom the offence is committed belongs to SC/ST, for which court can bring him guilty of the offence. As per Act number 1 of Amendment Act 2016, a public servant, the original act is the original act section 3 is provided minimum punishment is 1 year, maximum punishment is 5 years for the offence of offence enumerated under section 3. Subsequently, subsequently, if a public servant, subsequent amendment was made. If a public servant has committed such offence, punishment is the original act provides minimum punishment is 6 months, maximum punishment is 5 years. After the Amendment Act, if a public servant commits the same offence, he shall be punished 1 year. Minimum punishment is 1 year. If any public servant fail to commit his duty, that is the dereliction of duty, enumerated in this act, shall be punished 1 year under section 4. As far as the section 3110, earlier 3110, now 31R, yes, 31R and yes. If any non-member of the SC/ST commits any humiliation or criminal intimidation against the member of the SC/ST in any place within a public view, shall be punished. So that in order to the basic ingredients of the section 3110 and 31R, yes, is that the accused must be a member of the accused must be non-member of the SC/ST. Victim shall be member of the SC/ST. The offence committed, any insult, any humiliation committed against the person, such a member of the SC/ST, in any public place, within a public view, shall be punished. That is the section 3110, now 31R, yes. The most crucial aspect is that these punishment, these offense has to be investigated by not less than the police officer, not less than grade of the deputy superintendent of police under rule 7, under rule 7 of the SC/ST rules 1995. 1995 rules was enacted, the SC/ST PO Act amendment, the rules was enacted in the year of 1995, enables the police officer not less than the DSP who may conduct the investigation, but such officers shall be appointed by the state government or the DGP of police or the senior superintendent of police. However, such a person shall be having the experience in the, he should have the past experience in sense of ability in the case collected matters. That is the rule 7. If any violation of rule 7 of SC/ST rules, the accrued got benefit. Moreover, the investigation has to be completed within 2 months. If any violation, any period extended, the investigation officer can apply to the court under rule 7 subclass 3 of the so and so rules to the court for seeking period of extension, that is for which administrative order is enough. Moreover, I'm just sharing my knowledge, my experience with the members of the bar and bench. Though you may have some experience and special knowledge about this side, I'm only sharing my knowledge, my experience with you. I'm not expert. However, I'm holding the charge, the court, the charge more than 2 years, more than 1 year and 8 months. As per Act number 33 of the 1989, the section 18 provides, the section 438 of the CRPC, that is the right available, anticipatory right available to the accused is denied. For which some more judgments are available. In these contexts, I would draw attention of these bar members of the bar and bench to look into section 20, because such a section is having overriding effect of the any other provisions, saving clause and overriding effect of the any other provisions. Therefore, section 4, the rights of anticipatory bail is denied under section 18 of the SC/ST Act. However, Honorable Supreme Court of India delivered a judgment in 2018 6 SEC 454, Dr. Subhas Kasinath Mahajan versus State of Maharashtra and others, wherein the Honorable Supreme Court of India held that there is no absolute bar against grant of anticipated bail in cases under the Atrocities Act if no prima facie case made out on judicial scrutiny. That is, on judicial scrutiny, if there is no prima facie case made out, the court is not having absolute bar to grant anticipated bail. Then the Honorable Supreme Court also felt that in view of the acknowledging the abuse of the law of arrest, the arrest of the persons under the Atrocities Act can only be made after the approval of the Senior Supreme Court of Police insofar as the cases against non-public servant. Insofar as the public servant is concerned, arrest shall be made after the consultation of the appointing authority of such persons in respect of the offence of the offence under the Atrocities Act. Moreover, that is the law for which, as per this judgment, anticipatory bail can be granted in respect of the offence of atrocities, for which there is no absolute bar if the court is find out on judicial scrutiny that there is no prima facie case is made out for which anticipatory bail can be granted. However, the arrest of the such person shall be made after consulting of the appointing authority insofar as the public servant is concerned. Insofar as the non-public servant is concerned, after the arrest shall be made under the Atrocities Act after getting the approval of the Senior Supreme Court of the Police. However, there is after the judgment, a hue and cry was arose all over the country. Then the Honorable High Court of Supreme Court of India held that is the full bench judgment. Full bench judgment reported in CDJ 2019 Supreme Court 11/27. CDJ 2019 Supreme Court 11/27. Union of India versus State of Maharashtra and others. Union of India versus State of Maharashtra and others, wherein the judgment thereby arrest can be the section 438 can be applicable. Anticipated bail cannot be available to the accused No. The review. This is a review petition. In review petition, the Supreme Court has given direction that arrest of the public servant can only be made after approval of the appointing authority, and arrest of the non-public servant after the approval of the Senior Supreme Court of Police. And the arrest may be in appropriate cases if considered necessary for reasons to be recorded. Reasons for arrest must be scrutinized by the magistrate for permitting the further detention. Preliminary inquiry is to be committed at the DSP level. All the 5 points were discussed. 5 points were discussed in the review petition before the Supreme Court. Thereby the Honorable full bench of the Supreme Court has held that direction number 3, 4 issued by the Supreme Court deserves to be recalled. Thereby, the and any violation of the direction mentioned above will be actionable by way of disciplinary action as well as contempt. That is the one of the review and one of the point put forth before the Honorable Supreme Court of India in review petition, for which direction number 3, 4 issued by the court deserves to be recalled, and this direction number 5 is also punished. Therefore, the preliminary inquiry and conducted by the preliminary inquiry has to be conducted. The investigation, and subsequently an amendment was made in the year of 2018. Thereby, under section 18 subclass A, thereby the court has given thereby section 438 will not be applicable for the offenders who committed the offense of atrocities, for which any judgment or order will not be defeated the provision of the section 18A. Primary the consulting with the appointing authority for arrest of the accused is not necessary. That is after the Amendment Act 19 in 2018. Thereby, the original Act number 33 of 1989 was restored. In practical aspect, as far as the practical aspect is concerned, if a person, a non-member of the SC/ST committed offense against the member of the SC/ST in respect of the atrocity alleged in the section 3, such a complainant may be converted into another religion, for which if a defense put forth on the side of the defense, stating that the complainant is not a member of the SC/ST. How can the court can convict, or how can court can accuse the accused? What are the procedure has to be followed in respect of the conversion of the victim, because member of the victim must be a member of the SC/ST, for which the Honorable Supreme Court of India has held in state of Kerala versus Chandramohan. In state of Kerala versus Chandramohan, reported in AIR 2004. Reported in 2004, Supreme Court 1672, wherein the full bench of the Honorable Supreme Court of India held that we therefore are of the two opinions that although as a broad proposition of law, it cannot be accepted that merely by changes of the religion of person cease to be member of the scheduled tribe, but the question as to whether he ceases to be a member thereof or not must be determined by the appropriate court. As such, a question would depend upon the fact and circumstance of each case. Fact and circumstance of each case. In such a situation, it has to be established that a person who embraces another religion is still suffering from social disability and following the customs and tradition of community which he earlier belonged to. Therefore, as per the judgment of the full bench of the Supreme Court, it is crystal clear that if a person converted to, if a victim converted to another religion, certainly he would have been he used to be a member of the SCST, for which the ingredients is not made out. However, if the member of the SCST converted into another religion, but still he is suffering. Due to he followed the old customs and tradition. Court can be considered. Therefore, the conversion case is concerned. The fact and circumstance in each case has to be considered in each case. Not for which a profession of law cannot be looked into. The court has to consider each fact and circumstance of each case in respect of the conversion of the religion. Whether the court can say that if a person is if a victim is a SCST or not, or suppose the defense put forth a defense that the accused also belongs to SCST. Whether court itself can presume that the so and so person is a member of the SCST or not, for which the Honorable Supreme Court of India clearly answered that court cannot presume that a person belongs to SCST, either the victim or the accused. In state of Orissa versus Dasarathi Meher, reported in 2018 18 SCC 176. And once again tell to you that reported in 2018 18 SCC 176. Thereby, in paragraph number 25, that court held that we cannot alter scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. We are also aware that we cannot take into consideration any evidence in this regard. We cannot give such an interpretation to a caste or tribe mentioned in the list notified SCST, which would have effect or nullifying the intention of the Parliament. Only Parliament or presidential order can make declare the so and so SCST person mentioned in the under Article 366, subclass 24, subclass 25. Parliament can alone declare that a community come under the category of scheduled caste under Article 366, subclass 24, and Parliament can alone declare scheduled tribes under Article 366, subclass 25 of the Indian Constitution. Therefore, court cannot presume a victim is a member of the SCST, or court cannot presume that accused is a member of SCST in defense. Next, I am suppose if the offense charged against a person under the SCST Act and the Indian Penal Code. Because if the SCST Act come into play, automatically Rule 7 of the SCST Rules 1995 will come into play. Therefore, such offense has to be investigated only by the police, not below the rank of the DSP. However, in so far as the IPC case is concerned, any police officer who is the officer in charge of the police station can register the FIR as per section 154. In the mingled offences, that is the IPC offences and the SCST Act cases, suppose court comes to conclusion that the offense under section 3110 or 3111 RIS would not be attracted against the accused. However, if the offense mentioned in the Indian Penal Code would be attracted, what is whether the court can convict? Court can convict in respect of the IPC offense alone. For which I would draw attention of the members of the bar and bench to look into CDJ 2006, PHC, the Bombay High Court, PHC 1295, wherein the Honorable High Court of Judicature at Bombay held that in this case, in the particular case where the prosecution is not able to prove that the accused is not a member of the SCST. In the FIR stage itself, the counsel participants come into court and stating that the accused is not a member of the SCST. Therefore, the SCST and the offense under section 3110 has to be quashed before that is the plea placed before the Honorable High Court of the Judicature at Bombay, for which the court can the Honorable High Court of Judicature at Bombay has quashed the section 3110 of the SCST against the accused. However, some offense mentioned in the Indian Penal Code can be attracted, for which the prosecution can be continued. That is the judgment delivered by Honorable High Court of Judicature at Bombay. In yet another citation reported in name to earlier judgment on the Subhash Tulsiram Jadhav. Subhash Tulsiram Jadhav versus State of Maharashtra. And the CDJ 2006 PHC 1295.
சரிங்க. ஐயா உங்களுக்கு தமிழ் கம்ஃபர்ட்டபிளா இருந்தா நீங்க ஸ்விட்ச் ஓவர் பண்றதுனா கூட பண்ணிக்கலாங்க.
Next CDJ I'm looking into section I'm looking into yet another judgment passed by Honorable High Court of Judicature Bombay, reported in CDJ 2005 PHC 2006 that reported in 2005 CRLJ 4653 in Manohar and others versus State of Maharashtra. Court clarified, the Bombay High Court clarified that insofar as the other offences are concerned, that is, Indian Penal Code is concerned, the police would be liberty to effect the arrest of the accused in accordance with law. If any offence stipulated in under section 3110 are not disclosed in the FIR itself, the police can continue the offence in respect of the IPC offence alone. That is the law. Next. Next, I come across a judgment delivered by Supreme Court of India in AIR 2006. AIR 2006 Supreme Court 1267. Dinesh alias Buddha. Dinesh alias Buddha versus State of Rajasthan. Wherein the court held that if the offence punishable under the Indian Penal Code, punishable up to for a term up to 10 years, such offence such offence committed against the member of the SC/ST shall be punishable only life and fine. That as stipulated under section 32B. 32B stipulate that if any offence committed by accused in respect of the Indian Penal Code, punishable for a term not less than 10 years against the member of the SC/ST shall be punishable only life. The section 325 was upheld in the judgment of the Supreme Court in Dinesh alias Buddha versus State of Rajasthan. Suppose if a offence enumerated in the Special Act, that is SC/ST Act, investigated by only an inspector of police, not by a DSP. If a offence mentioned in the SC/ST Act, investigated by the inspector of police alone, but the DSP come and file a final report, whether it can be presumed in accordance with the Rule 7, certainly not. That is judgment delivered by Honorable Supreme Court of India in 2000 CRLJ 2000 3125. M. Niranjan Reddy versus M. Niranjan Reddy and others versus State of Andhra Pradesh, wherein the Supreme Court held that investigation was done by the investigation officer, but the DSP mere filed the final report cannot be looked into. Right? As per section 3110 or the 31RS is concerned, the offence should be made in a public in any place in a public view. And I come across a recent judgment. In High Court of Punjab and Haryana at Chandigarh, கேஸ்ல வந்து பிரதீப் குமார் versus State of Haryana. Castious remark, wherein the allegation against the accused is Castious remark made by the accused over cell phone. Whether such offense in the under section 3(1)(r) yes can be attracted or not. The court held that such offense was made. Not intended to public view. Therefore, such offense cannot be cannot be attracted.
citation கொஞ்சம் பஞ்சாப் and ஹரியானா.
Pradeep Kumar versus State of Haryana.
Yeah.
CRP number 1574 of 2019, dated 14/5/2020. Dated 14/5/2020, whereby Castious remark by the accused over phone would not be attracted because it is lack of public view. Insofar as the relief and rehabilitation is concerned, the Honorable Division Bench of Madras High Court has delivered a judgment. Now I would not recall the same. I would pass on the same. Justice Mani Kumar has delivered a judgment about and given direction to the state authorities to prepare a scheme in respect of the Rule 15, Rule 16, Rule 17. Thereby, state level monitoring committee, state level vigilance and monitoring committee, district level vigilance and monitoring committee, subdivisional vigilance monitoring committee, how to be framed in order to review about the implementation of this act, and in order to verifying as to whether the members of the SC/ST rehabilitated after the offense of atrocities, because so many places where the victims the authorities may not be reviewed in respect of the relief and rehabilitation, in respect of the compensation. Therefore, the Honorable Division Bench has given direction to the state authorities to monitor and prepare a draft and place before the Legislative Assembly. Therefore, with this speech, I am conclude this speech. I would thank to one and all for passion hearing, for members of the bar and bench. I am just sharing my knowledge. I am not expert. However, I am just sharing my experience.